We are spectating our friend Dragonrider on Warrior versus Oinks on the Druid. Looks like we have what looks like a Rush Warrior. Interesting tech choice with Mankrik. Now, Druid tends to be mostly token on ladder right now, and Dragonrider knows that. So what she has kept here is Conditioning Blade Master. Blade Master, very, very good against token Druid. You get to wipe their board right from one card, bam, board's gone. And Conditioning is also pretty good. She might not save it till turn 5. She might just jam it when she has mana for it, because a 2 damage Samurai lets you clear a Glowfly Swarm or a single buffed Gibberling board. She gets back a Bumper Car and a Rakara, both actually pretty good against Druid early as well. Bumper Car is cheap, a cheap bumper, and then the 1/1s also let you clean up either extra Gibberlings or just tokens in general, especially if they happen to be conditioned. Goes for the studies on 1, I like it. Picks a Rakara, I like it as well. Rakara sticking early is a nightmare for Druid. If they don't have their Lunar Eclipses, they just kind of lose. The Rakara snowballs out of the game. Druid has a pretty good start too, though. Studies on 1 to Fungal Fortunes. They don't have the coin. They're still doing okay. Okay, Dragonrider has a decision here. She can play Rakara, or she can play Parade Leader. Parade Leader gets better with Bumper Car later, but Rakara naked on the board kind of is unfortunate against something like a Lunar Eclipse, obviously. I actually like this. Conditioning on turn 5 is way too far out. Playing Conditioning here just to get the Rakaras to 3/4s, and even the Parade Leader to 3/4s is massive. And, of course, you get the Blade Master buff. Now, if the Druid doesn't go in, she can develop a couple of minions here that don't die to Lunar Eclipse. Very important. The only removal that these Druids have, the token Druids, are Lunar Eclipses, and they only deal 3. So if you can get your minions outside of that 3 range, it becomes a nightmare to deal with for Druid. I like this. And if they happen to go in with a Gibberling that turn, she has the setup. She has the Samurai, or she has Parade Leader plus a Bumper card. I like getting the Parade Leader down. And I like getting the Bumper card down as well. She could have considered playing a Crab Rider as a 3/4, but getting this on the board means it dies faster, which means that you get the Riders in your hand. Glowfly. Innervate Glowfly coming out from the Druid opponent, realizing that they have to get on the board because the Warrior is going to get out of control really quickly. They're not waiting till turn 5. They just got to get it out now. At least 7 spells in hand. Doesn't give us too much information. There could be a Gibberling. They're not going to be happy to see the Samurai come out, though. Samurai clears the board. Damage starts getting pushed. The Druid needs to refill, and even with refill, it's going to be kind of scary. There's multiple Rush minions in Dragonrider's hand, and now there's the threat of the minions on board as well. What does the Druid have to respond? They need something like a second Glowfly Swarm to start, honestly. They need, ideally, double Lunar Eclipse, but I don't think they have that because they probably would have done it last turn. Solar Eclipse? Solar Lunar. Okay, that does clear the Parade Leader. Do they have a second Glowfly, perhaps? That might keep them in it. They get 4 discount. Yes, they do. Okay. So this board's a bit smaller. And also, this only spawns 5 Glowflies. With 6 cards in hand, that does tell us that their opponent has a Gibberling in hand. I think Dragonrider is going to know that. Let's figure out what she wants to do here. She has a couple options. Could just play a Scrap Golem. Could go Playmaker, Coin, Rakara. Could go Rakara, Coin, Rakara, which might be better than the Playmaker because both Rakaras have full health, and they can also get value trades. If she doesn't want to use Coin, she could go Rakara, Crab Rider. But I think Rakara, Coin, Rakara lets you kill 4 minions, and every single minion you play gets buffed by a crazy amount. She gets to use Playmaker value this way, though. Rakara is still going to be good next turn. And this can set up for better payoff over multiple turns. She loses a Rakara this way, but she still gets double buff on all of these, and she gets to stick the Playmaker for next turn. It's pretty solid as well. Not quite lethal setup, but from this point, honestly, both Glowflies are down. There's a Gibberling in hand, so Oinks isn't out of the game yet, but I'm struggling to see how Oinks gets back in this. It's going to have to be a big Gibberling board with probably Thorngrowth Sentries as taunts to stop the damage bleeding through the face, and then come back with some sort of Arbor up play. So we'll see if that is what Oinks has. The Gibberling starts. The Glowfly can't attack this turn. Okay. What are we going to see here? Soul? Okay, this was pretty good, actually. This is decent refill, and a Ricari gets cleared this way. Alex is drawn. It's a little slow. I think from here, Dragonrider might not be able to clean up the whole board now. She might have to just ignore it and start shipping damage face. That's crazy. 3 boards. The first Glowfly got dealt with very effectively. The second one as well, honestly. 1 Glowfly was left up, but there was still great board development from Dragonrider's side. The third wave, is it going to get there? So there's 2 clear plays here. Just Scrap Golem or Ricari Crabrider. And I kind of like Ricari Crabrider. Ricari Crabrider lets you clear the Treant, a Marcel Cub, and a second Treant behind that, and lets you push this damage face. I don't think trading these 3 off is going to help too much. Actually, I forgot about the Playmaker. Oh no, the Playmaker makes this so much more insane. Oh, absolutely, this is the play. I forgot about the Playmaker. And this is... Now you can see why the Playmaker last turn over second Ricari was decent. Against the third board development, she gets to do much more. Okay, now we get to see how much she chooses to trade off. It looks like she's not going to go for the face play. Okay, she does, but she holds the Ricari and trades a Playmaker. I actually kind of like this. This makes sense. All of these are still big enough. It sets up lethal. Even Solar Arbor isn't enough, because 4 things get traded off, and there's only 2 things. Actually, Solar Arbor would still be pretty good here, but it's unlikely for that to happen. Okay, the Druid's digging, but I struggle to see how they get back in this. It's going to have to be something like a Solar Arbor, and they have a lot less mana to work with now that they've drawn 3 cards off the Fungal. Bloom, Vate, Solar Arbor? It's a pretty specific hand, especially when 2 of these are 1/1 Cubs. Actually, that's a fair point. Solar Arbor doesn't even kill the Samuro or the Bumper Car. Yeah, this might be checkmate. This actually just might be checkmate. The Bloom is there from the studies, but I don't know. It's not going to be enough, right? The Arbor up is drawn, but I think it's a little too late. I don't even want to say too little too late, because the Druid made 3 boards. It's just the Dragonrider's hand. Her mulligan was on point. And her navigation through the following turns let her get through a second and third board. Some people might be tempted to just start going face and close out the game, but she was able to use the resources she had very effectively to deal with all the boards. And that's just it. Well done. Hats off. Clean play. Clean win. Right, on Rush Warrior again. Seems to be an Azoth type build because of the Scrap Golem. Interesting. Also some extra gas for Ringmaster Wally to draw. She has a curve against DH. Demon Hunter could be what? Could be Death Rattle, could be OTK. Against both of them, you want some early minions. So I do like that she's keeping Parade Leader Mancrick. Makes sense. She's got a Studies as well with a Playmaker. Playmaker doesn't come in for a while, but it's nice to have in hand as an option. Opponent kept a couple of cards. Let's see if she starts off with Studies on 1. She could consider not Studiesing on 1 if she wants to play Bumper Car on 2 and save the discount for later. But she has other options as well. She may not want to Bumper Car on 2. It's possible she just throws out a Parade Leader. Absolutely. I like this a lot. Very difficult for Demon Hunter to deal exactly 3 on turn 2. It has to be an Outcast I-Beam, which isn't that likely, and it's especially even less likely if it's Death Rattle Demon Hunter. This lets her develop a Bumper Car next turn, which gets the buff, and just starts the Smorg Train. Let's see what her opponent responds with. Looking like a Hero Power Pass. It does. The pre-punch on the 2-3, okay. That probably means Throglaive. So this gives us some information. This means... Oh, it's not Throglaive, it's Og Merchant, but this still gives us information. This means it's OTK Demon Hunter. Conditioning. Okay. So the Og Merchant tells us a number of things. 1, obviously it's OTK DH. 2, I don't think they have something like an Immolation on hand, because then this would be kind of useless, the extra punch. So they're expecting this to stick. They're expecting a 2-mana rush to come out, which Dragonrider does go for. But now the Demon Hunter is set up so that a hero power lets them clean up the Parade Leader from hand, which is why they committed the Augmentation last turn. They draw Philosophy, copy a demon, we see that. It's outcasted, so now there's at least 2 Morgs in hand, and they're 3/5s. Be surprised to see Dragonrider play much else other than Man Craig. She could consider an early conditioning, but I think she's in a good spot in terms of aggression. So I think I'm okay with her kind of keeping the pressure up and saving the conditioning for 5. Sometimes you want to play it early if your hand does not actually give you longevity. But I think she has some gas, so she can take it a bit. She can take it a bit slower. Play conditioning on 5. Man Craig on curve is nice. Second philosophy. That's actually pretty insane. You don't often get to see Morgs being played for tempo, but when they're double buffed, they come down as 4/6s. Now they're almost, it's as if they're conditioned, which is hilarious. Now, Demon Hunter, 2 cards for left. Likely one of them is skull related. Illidari studies maybe a skull itself. So the fact that they've been able to deal with the early board and now actually contest with the Morgs is incredibly good for them. Dragonrider has to figure out now how she wants to deal with this. She checks the studies box because her hand doesn't really deal with it that nicely. Razor Draw helps her clean up. She has to trade off her board for it, but I mean, the Morgs are going to stick if she tries going face, and then it might get easier next turn, honestly, after conditioning. So she could consider taking it easy this turn, tempoing out a bumper car, going face, letting them do the trades, and then coming back with a conditioning. I don't mind Rukara. Razor Draw lets you kill it immediately, but I don't think that's what she wants to do. She might still consider doing it, honestly. It depends how fast or slow she wants to take this. If she thinks it's incredibly important to get rid of this, and honestly it might be. Skull isn't coming down yet, but a second Morg plus an I-Beam will undo all of this damage she's done. So maybe she wants to consider just putting out some resources now to get rid of the Morg. Okay, and she does go for that. It's unfortunate, but I mean that's what you got to do, right? Sometimes your opponent plays a 2-mana 4/6. Far left card is being touched a lot. Arcanist Keep, okay, makes sense against Rush Warrior maybe. Now, you might ask, Languagehacker, why are they playing a Talented Arcanist for free? Well, it's because that card's a Skull, and they love playing Skull on 6. They just so yummy. So they're dumping this to set up for Skull next turn. Look at that, they moused over it. They're salivating like Skull on 6, Outcast. 2-mana 4/6, 1/3, set up for Skull, and Dragonrider's in a bit of a tough spot here. She had some good early pressure, but the OTK Demon Hunter had very good responses. She has to consider how she wants to take this. Now, she probably has the read that there's a Skull coming down next turn for the same reason that I explained, because this Arcanist was played just as a 1/3. So she has to consider if she wants to pressure hard into this turn, which actually isn't very easy, because pressuring into this doesn't actually really work out because the Morg's so thick. I think she might have to take off a turn for conditioning. She can consider bumper carring first to buff some extra riders, or she could buff the bumper car as is to set up for a big playmaker bumper car. We'll see what she settles on. I think it's important that conditioning happens this turn, but I could see it going either way, whether she wants to play the bumper car first or second. Okay, she takes it slow, realizes that, all right, using resources now to clean up the board is going to be very inefficient, and she's going to run out of gas. So she decides that even though she knows that there's a Skull, she takes it a bit slower, sets up the conditioning, and makes it easier to clean up the board next turn. I like this a lot. And their opponent's going to Skull no matter what she does this turn, because there's just not enough pressure to stop it. Samurai comes down. Not super useful in this matchup. I'm a little concerned that Dragonrider doesn't have some of the late game to push through here. And depending on what the Demon Hunter has in hand, she may just actually run out of steam. Now, there's a couple of options here. Playmaker Bumper Card, Darkmoon Rider cleans up. Playmaker Crab Rider, Darkmoon Rider also cleans up. We'll see what she settles for. Having a lot of riders in hand means that ETC starts to push a lot of damage, but your opponent has to have minions on the board for the ETC rush thing to happen, or you have to stick a board and then hit face with the rush minions. I do like the bumper car. I do like this. She plays the Darkmoon Rider. Trades off the 3/1 that's generated. I like this. Keeps his sturdy board. Doesn't die to just Immolation Aura or a Light Breeze. Actually saying that, hey, if you want to clear this board, you have to commit more than just an Immolation Aura. Although to be clear, this would not Immolation Aura either way, but instead of just trading off the bumper cars, I like this. Sticking a board. If it was a different matchup, maybe she could consider trading off the bumper cars to set up for an ETC damage combo, but again, OTKDH doesn't really play that many minions, so that's not a great game plan. I-Beam comes down. There implies that there is an Immolation Aura coming down. 2 discounted cards used already. A lot of cycle happening. Board gets almost completely wiped again, but effectively all the pressure is gone. The Fell Screamer comes down. This is the 3rd discounted card, so there's no more discounts in hand, although there are 2 Morgs in hand that we know about. No, there's 1 Morg in hand that we know about. And it is discounted by 2 because of the Fell Screamer. This does give Dragonrider an opportunity to get some ETC damage through. And then maybe with something like a Troublemaker or Alex over 2 could push enough damage if the Demon Hunter runs out of healing. Say I-Beam or a Fellscream Blast, which we haven't seen yet. I'd be very surprised if this wasn't an ETC play. I mean, it's also... They're the biggest minions in hand too, right? The rush minions and the ETC. The Warmaul is not really useful in this matchup. Okay, I like this. Trading off an extra 1/1 here to push 2 damage face, realizing that if she preserves a 1/1, it's probably not going to do that much because it's going to get removed by another Immolation or maybe a Fellscream Blast. So this way she's capitalizing on the ETC damage in case the 1/1 does get cleared. And in the case that the board sticks and she traded off the 1/1 anyways, that's fine. The board sticks. We get to push more damage next turn. Ooh, Kurtra's coming down. Deals 3 to the ETC. Kills off the Crab Rider. It's not quite enough. I mean, I believe it stops... lethal if she can clear the... Yeah, absolutely. With ETC gone. That being said, even with the pressure being stopped from the Demon Hunter doesn't have that many cards left. Olga coming down, okay. Some stuff's piecing together now. Warmaul Challenger, not quite what she's looking for. It does clean up the Kurtrus, lets her push face with the bumper car. But I think she needed something a bit heavier here. I think she needed something like even a Scrap Golem, for example. I know she's running Scrap Golems, I imagine, for N'Zoth. It's kind of unfortunate. She trades off the Samurai here, softens up the Kurtrus a bit to get the Warmaul Challenger down. I like this. Another option is Warmaul Challenger armor up, but one of the damage ranges is 24, so armoring up to 24 doesn't help that much. I like this. Preserving 2 minions on the board. If she just plays Warmaul Challenger initially, 1 dies, and then she gets the second one down. So this presents a bit more of a threat. Still not lethal, technically, because there's only 8, but it is what it is. Chaos Strike from the opponent. Finds a skull. 3 discounts left. But they do risk dying. 1 discounted card used. They do risk dying to an Alex. An Alex or even a Troublemaker here. If they swing face, they heal up to 14. 3, 6, 7, 8. That's exact lethal with a Troublemaker and Alex. So they have to decide, A, whether that's acceptable, and B, whether anything can even be done about that. No answer. Dragonrider has an opening here. If she draws a Troublemaker or Alex. Oh, that's not the draw. Ganarg. Great on turn 1. Not so great on turn 9 when you need the game to be closed out. Alright, Dragonrider doesn't have a lot of options here. There's no real bluff play here. She probably just has to dump the hand and armor up, hope that gets there. There's at least one Moarg in hand. It's possible. She could hope that there's not an Il'gynoth drawn yet, even with double Skull, double Spectral Sight used. If Il'gynoth is deep enough, she might still have enough time. Her opponent might be able to heal back up, regardless of whether or not Il'gynoth is there, but maybe forcing them to use the Fellscream Blast can get her there. I mean, holding the Warmaul Challenger back I don't think accomplishes too much. Although she could. I like this. Alright. There it is. Do you have it? Does the Demon Hunter have it? More comes down. Oh, the Il'gynoth comes down too. This likely means that the game is over. Dragonrider had a pretty good early game. She fizzled off a little bit as she transitioned to mid-game, but that's because the Demon Hunter had a crazy good opening. The double philosophy, being able to fight for boards with Moargs is incredibly powerful from the Demon Hunter's perspective. Now, the important thing is she put herself in a position to win. She gave herself the chance to draw Troublemaker and Alex, and that would have closed out the game there at the end. So despite losing, I think she played that pretty well. Excellently done.